Ignoring you means she cares more than you think. Introduction. The silent power of detachment and the psychology of attraction. Have you ever found yourself trying to prove your worth to a woman, investing your time and effort, but it seems like she's getting more and more distant? The answer to this might be simpler than you imagine and at the same time profoundly complex. Silence and rejection aren't signs of disinterest. They are often a reflection of a much deeper emotional dynamic than you think. When a woman ignores you but still acts in a contradictory way, showing a superficial interest, you are facing a psychological challenge, not a simple rejection. As much as our society teaches us that attraction is a game of approach and seduction, real emotional dynamics are much deeper. What happens when a woman ignores you or sends mixed signals of interest? It might seem like an emotional game, but the truth is that this reflects more on you and your insecurities than on the woman herself. This video will teach you to understand the psychological and emotional mechanisms behind rejection and how to use this to your advantage to transform the attraction dynamic between you and the woman you are interested in. Psychological ambiguity. The effect of silence and rejection. When a woman ignores you but still sends you contradictory signals of interest, this isn't just an emotional strategy on her part to create confusion. It's a reflection of an internal emotional conflict she has. Human psychology is complex, and people often act in contradictory ways because they don't know exactly what they want. This ambiguously affectionate behavior should not be seen as a simple manipulation game, but as a reflection of her internal insecurities and indecisions. Why ambiguity creates emotional tension? Human beings are naturally programmed to seek resolution and clarity. When a woman sends contradictory signals or ignores you, she creates an emotional void. This void generates cognitive dissonance, a psychological conflict that leaves her mind in a state of uncertainty, where she starts to wonder, what does he think of me? Is he still interested? Now imagine the dynamic of a man who is constantly trying to decipher signals and seek answers to these contradictory behaviors. He finds himself in a cycle of self-analysis and emotional doubt. The question is, why is he so focused on understanding the other person? The answer to this lies in a deeper psychological process, a lack of emotional confidence and the search for validation. The effect of uncertainty on a man, how this reflects his insecurity. From the moment a man finds himself in a situation of emotional ambiguity, he starts to wonder if he's doing something wrong or if he is not being good enough. This is the perfect ground for insecurity to feed on, and that's exactly why the woman might feel that he is losing control of the situation. He starts to react, to chase, to beg for answers, which in turn puts him in a position of emotional desperation. This behavior ends up being self-destructive because, by acting this way, the man is losing his emotional autonomy. The more he reacts to her actions, the more he enters the cycle of emotional loss of control and desperation for validation. This creates a dynamic of emotional dependency where he starts to depend on her to feel valuable and worthy of attention. Silence as a tool of power. How to break the chasing dynamic. When a man decides not to respond to a woman who is ignoring him or sending mixed signals, he is not being indifferent. He is, in fact, exercising an emotional control that is profoundly powerful. By stepping back, he not only breaks the chasing dynamic but also takes control of his own emotional narrative. Silence in this context is not just an absence of words, it is a declaration of strength and emotional self-sufficiency. The fear of loss. How it impacts attraction. The main reason why many men cannot walk away in situations of rejection or emotional ambiguity is the fear of loss. They fear that if they walk away, they will lose the chance to win the woman over. What they do not realize is that the fear of losing is actually what puts them in a position of weakness. When a man acts out of fear of losing, he loses his emotional autonomy. True emotional strength does not come from trying to control what the other person feels, but from controlling your own emotions and not being emotionally dependent on anyone. This is what women really find attractive. They don't want a man who is chasing them to be validated. They want a man who knows who he is and doesn't need their validation to feel complete. Why emotional self-sufficiency attracts women? Women are attracted to men who don't need them to feel good about themselves. When a man is emotionally self-sufficient, he radiates a confidence that is undeniable. He has a purpose, knows what he wants, and most importantly, doesn't get stuck in the emotional uncertainty that the woman might create. When he steps away from the cycle of insecurity, she begins to realize that he is different from the others. How to break the cycle of rejection. The key to overcoming insecurity and attracting a woman you might be asking yourself. What do I do now? When you find yourself in a situation where a woman ignores you or sends signals of disinterest, the key is not to react to her, but to act based on your own emotional worth. This does not mean ignoring her to create a manipulation game. Instead, it's about not submitting to an emotional dynamic that weakens you. Building your emotional identity. The power of self-respect. Men who have a solid emotional identity are attractive because they don't let themselves be shaken by rejection. They know themselves and know what they deserve in a relationship. If a woman doesn't see that, it's not worth chasing her. She will realize that you have emotional self-sufficiency and that you don't need her approval to feel good about yourself. When you start to stop reacting to the contradictory signals and walk away firmly, you begin to reaffirm your own worth. The woman will no longer see you as someone who is always available, but as someone who demands respect. And it is this respect that creates true attraction, where you are no longer at the mercy of her uncertainties. Personal transformation and how to become an unstoppable man. In the end, the secret to attracting a woman is not enforcing your presence or relentlessly seeking her approval. The secret is in being a man who knows his value and doesn't depend emotionally on anyone to feel complete. Emotional self-sufficiency is the key to creating genuine attraction because women are attracted to men who know what they want and are not afraid to lose what is not good for them. Transform your emotional life now. Now that you understand the power of silence and emotional self-sufficiency, it's time to apply these principles to your life. Subscribe to our channel to continue learning about how to become emotionally unbeatable, how to create true and respectful relationships, and how to attract women without losing your essence. Click the subscribe button now and start your journey to become the man you always wanted to be, a man of value, self-sufficient and irresistible.